Okay, so does anyone have anything they'd like to share or comment on this morning or ask any questions?
Had to share from the practice. I was feeling caught up and just bubbling to move things through. And I had the experience of like it wasn't moving for a while. I was feeling stuck. And I started to feel the emotion like a ball outside of my body, where I've seen pictures outside of my body, but I haven't actually seen the emotion that way. It felt like my body was clear and the space around me was clear, and then there was this ball of emotion outside, and then I was just sort of playing with it from there and like feeling both of those things at the same time, feeling the emotion and feeling the sense of clarity and spaciousness in my body. And then it's sort of like, how do those two things interact? And it started to dissipate. And then when we were doing the gratitude breathing, I could really feel the gratitude. It was like the emotion was still there, but it wasn't, I think I had identified with it before. And this was just like experiencing it from a different perspective. So wanted to share that.
Thank you for sharing that. That's I want to say it's actually a powerful sharing, powerful experience. It's sometimes it actually gets stuck. The energy actually gets stuck in our field, and yeah, that's so. It sounds like you experienced the energy being stuck outside in your field, and as you said, the most important thing is that you don't over identify with it, and so as you actually just give it some peace, you get more perspective, and that allows you to actually just relate to it better. But so you'll notice that oftentimes if it's outside your field, then it's something that you relate with, but it's more like someone else's energy being stuck in your system. And I want to be a little cautious when I say that, because it can sound like, oh, it's someone else's fault, or we don't actually hold on any energy that we don't have attachment towards. And so for it to actually stay stuck in your field, that means that we're attached to it. And so in some ways, as you said, like, there's an aspect where you're over identifying with it, or where you feel responsible for it somehow, and so on and so forth. And something, that's kind of unresolved within our system. But having said that, if it's in the field, and that typically means that it's basically someone else's energy that you're identifying with. And so just kind of having that perspective might, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that's spot on, because what eventually released it, I was a little bit confused, because I didn't feel like it was relating to a specific situation with another person. And I was like, not finding, I was triggered, but I couldn't really find like anything I could have done better. So I was like, why is this bothering me? There's something here. And then I realized, oh, like the thing that I was seeing the other person do, I was identifying with in a different area of my life. So it wasn't actually pertinent to that particular situation, but it was like kind of a pattern that I've had in a different, in a different area. And it felt like the message was about that, like just getting a little bit more insight into that pattern, and not limited to the specific interaction that I had with this person, but more a message about, how I've been in that particular area of my life, separate from, the arena of this person.
Yes. And so, So, typically, like when you check, what you'll notice is that there are three like main layers, but like the first layer you'll notice has three. Your first aura has three layers. The second aura has two layers, and the third has two layers. And so you could say like all in all there's seven. They're each about a foot apart from each other, approximately. I mean, it depends on the person. And it can really vary. But kind of just check each field and see where it got stuck in the first field, the second field, the third field, and so on and so forth. And you'll notice it got stuck in a very specific field. And as you clear it, you start getting insights as to, like basically, I mean, it's basically what you did, but just understanding like which field it's stuck might help you. Sometimes just
Thank you.
having,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just gonna say, so sometimes having just clear insight as to what field it's stuck on, can make a big difference. I never thought that. It's like, who cares first or second field? But it's actually, it correlates to being able to accurately express what you experience is. And it's kind of like interesting because I feel like for almost every practitioner, and I haven't seen anyone not go through this, but almost every practitioner kind of goes through this experience where you kind of wonder, is this real or not? Because it's kind of vague, and you don't know whether you kind of feel it or sometimes you feel it. And even if you feel it really clearly, and some people they feel it really clearly, in those people's cases, no one else feels it. So it's kind of like, oh, is this just all in my head? And it's kind of interesting. After training for all these years, there's always some commonality of truth across the board. And one of the things that I came across that was really helpful is that our emotions actually release, or release is actually more of our terminology, but we feel validated in our emotions, or we feel ourselves calming when we can name our emotions accurately or experience accurately. And so it's one of the reasons why talk therapy or psychology like is so helpful, because you get to just accurately name your experience. And that's very important, to be able to just accurately. And what I realized is that just being able to name with more specificity what your experience is, like really makes a big difference. And what I came to realize is that even if this is actually made up in our mind, if you will, and kind of made up, I need to be careful, because made up is kind of like a vocabulary. If you look at it, a lot of the words, they describe a certain experience, but if you go around the world, you'll notice that there are certain words that actually describe certain things that it's actually better expressed in certain languages than others. Especially if you're multilingual, you see that. And if you actually look at there's some TED Talks on actual, how your words define your experience. It's a very interesting thing. And someone experienced this and gave it a name. And then what you'll notice is, this is an interesting thing, and this is, I think, where the power is. If you learn something and it doesn't accurately describe what you're experiencing, it doesn't release. So we know that even if it is just in our mind, it describes something that's accurate to our experience in our mind. And so this is a little bit convoluted, but this is actually in Buddhism what they talk about, the nature of the mind. as to basically, even if the mind makes something up, by understanding the nature of the mind accurately, you start being able to find freedom from it. You can't do away with the mind, but you can actually accurately experience it so that you can actually navigate through it with more agency and more understanding, right? And so, so when you approach this, it's actually really helpful to understand that you're not learning to feel something. It's probably better to say, when I actually say, okay, hey, have you tried this? It's actually more important to kind of dial into seeing whether it accurately describes your experience, and does it actually exist? Who knows? It's kind of like we experience it, and the experience is very real. But then, it's like we also know that what we experience, from science, we also understand that it could actually be a different way of interpreting things. Like, say, for instance, we can't necessarily see, we can only see so much with our eyes, but that doesn't mean that something beyond that doesn't exist. And so, and we also understand that visually we may think that we're seeing something, when in reality our brain is just actually interpreting it a certain way. But the experience is very real. And so there are two different aspects. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to actually accurately be able to describe our experience. And then that actually ironically allows us to see more clearly, because we're not caught up in our experience, which actually ironically allows us to see reality more clearly. And so I kind of just wanted to just go through that and, kind of like explain two different things. Number one, most likely what you're experiencing is actually in your field. And if you can actually accurately identify it, is good, but then don't make too much out of it. If it doesn't, don't try and find a solution. Like, if you check it and you don't find a solution there, that means that it's not part of the experience. And kind of take what I'm saying as kind of like, oh, is this accurately helping me describe my experience? And you're just learning more vocabulary. And as you learn more vocabulary, you'll notice that you'll be able to find more and more freedom from the things that you're going through, where, as you said, like, you can see where you're over identifying with things. So I don't know whether that was helpful. That got a little
Super
bit more
helpful.
Okay, good. Got
Yeah.
a bit more abstract than I intended to. So
No, that's great. I mean, two things came to mind, two main things as you were talking, and one was just the experience of feeling seen by another person, and it's when they're able to dial into the specifics. So if I'm wanting that with myself, then it is about the specificity, as you're saying. And then just also the piece about like having just having more perspective. I mean, as you were talking about the layers, I felt, oh, that was in the second aura, first layer, and it had to do with my work. And so it's like, okay, that's interesting, that's where I hold my work with clients. It feels like it's in the second or in the first layer. So it's like just kind of more understanding about the situation and about myself, from that nuance that you mentioned. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Okay. You hold it in your second one. That's good. That's very interesting, actually. You hold it very close and personal. That's powerful. So yeah, it's kind of like, depending on the kind of work we do, it's like sometimes, a lot of people actually hold work in their, so in the first, second, and third layer is kind of, much more personal. It's kind of like your personal space, your family and really close friend space. And then basically it's like your inner group. So your first three is your inner group layer, or intimacy layer, as you would say. And then starting with the fourth and the fifth layer, is kind of like your more of a like they're in your life and you see them every day, or you have lots of interactions, but they're not in your inner group per se. And so for a lot of people, work falls somewhere between 3 and 5. And then if you have a work that's really public related, where you deal with people that you don't really know, then that falls between 6 and 7. And so but anyways, so yours falls in the second layer. So either that means that whatever happened actually really impacted something deep within you, or that you work very intimately with your clients. Whichever it is, I want to say that's kind of powerful to be able to just name that and be able to be able to see that. So
Thank
anyways,
you, Master Tim. Yeah, that's
welcome.
really helpful. Just framework, like additional layers of understanding, sort of like the Enneagram and Colby and all this stuff. It's like just brings more insight, more perspective. I feel like this is also just another way to see things that adds more depth, more perspective and understanding. So yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you. Okay, so does anyone else have anything they'd like to share or comment on or ask any questions?
I just wanted to say I had a good experience of unreasonable happiness today. It was like another flavor of it. So I wanted to just share that, and the appreciation of that.
Oh, thank you. You mind sharing like some details about it? I mean, that's yeah. That's actually, I mean, it's very powerful.
Okay. The commonality is things feel a little funny. Okay, so that was the same as last time. Things feel light. I was feeling a lot of pleasure in my body, and having insights, and there was nothing actually very special about it. I think that's kind of what stands out. There was nothing special about it. It just felt good. And it just felt kind of normal but bright. And I started out feeling pretty good. So unlike the last time I shared, I think it didn't stand out because it wasn't like anything.
You're feeling bad, and then
it wasn't like, but it just felt good. And it kind of struck me that I was feeling good, and I can tell it was just subtle. It was like things, like you said, were spreading. Things were the feelings were spreading and getting more open and clear. And then I happened to have a chance to just write some things down while we were training that kind of were coming to me, and that was helping. So I was going to say, it's like nothing spectacular, but it was more just the awareness of the space and how I wanted to feel, and then things coming out of that. So I don't know if that's specific enough. Sometimes there wasn't anything that truly stood out, but I think because I'm looking for it now, it's helping me to identify it.
Oh, good. that's actually really powerful. You know, I was just gonna say, do you know how you got there? You know, and I think you just said it, it's like you're looking for it now, so it's easier to identify it. That's actually a big part of it. And so
Yeah.
that was my main curiosity, is so what you noticed that was different from before is helping you dial into it more. And so that was my question, actually, like, well, my curiosity, I should say.
Yeah. I think I was just looking for something lighter.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be
Something
that
lighter.
simple.
Yeah. And that wasn't as, you know, distinct, but just lighter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's as simple as that. It's actually just, okay, that's good. You know, to me, what's the word for it? Practicing like the Gold Series or these practices in the morning, it's kind of like an emotional shower. You know, like when you take a nice warm shower, it almost regardless of what kind of day you've had, it feels good. It's a good experience. You know, I'm guessing for most people. I haven't known anyone to take a really nice warm shower, you know, after a hard day's work or whatever kind of day they've had. Maybe they had a good day, and not say, wow, that was a really enjoyable experience. And you know, I haven't met the person yet, and it's almost kind of like that. And it's like a really powerful scrub, and you almost come to expect it. Even if you're having a bad day, you actually look forward to going through it because you know you're going to hit that unreasonable happiness. And you know, it's kind of like when you're going through that, it's kind of almost, sometimes it feels like, oh, is it okay for me to feel like this good when I'm going through a rough time in my life? And you know, it's kind of like, as you said, kind of, you feel either silly or, and that's why it's called unreasonable. And it gives you, even if it's for just the duration of that, it gives you a perspective that actually becomes really powerful and helpful for the things that you're going through. And so, but anyways, I just kind of wanted to expound on that a little bit, because I feel like the experience that you're having, that unreasonable happiness, like as you're learning how to dial into that more and more, you know, it's a very powerful experience. So, okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you for sharing that. I am at time, so I'm done cleaning, so I gotta scooch. But thank you for sharing, and I wish you all a great day of going forward where you get to experience unreasonable happiness. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kim.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.